Good day, everyone. Welcome to our subject, Install and Configure Computer System. By the way, I'm Mrs. Karen Humino Bala, your CSS trainer for today. Our first topic is we have to talk about the computer system. Medyo mahaba-haba ito, so we will break down the subtopics related to computer system. Our objectives at the end of this unit is the student will be able to review basic components of a computer, analyze electronic data processing, identify hardware devices, differentiate types of softwares, recognize the importance of people in the computer system, and identify the basic PC assembly guidelines. Ito po ang mga lessons natin. So lesson 1, we will focus on Introduction to Computer. Lesson 2, Computer Hardware. Lesson 3, Software and Peopleware. Lesson 4, PC Assembly Guidelines. We are targeting to discuss the following: Introduction to Computer, Classification of Computers, the electronic data processing, and the components of electronic data processing. So let's start. So when we say computers, lahat naman siguro tayo very familiar dito. Cellphone ang gamit mo, computer ang gamit mo, laptop ang gamit mo, they are called as a computer. Which is, computers are machines that perform a specific task or calculation depending on the set of instructions or programs fed by the user. So tayo yung tinatawag na user at yung computers natin, tayo ang bibigay ng specific instructions or tasks, okay, na kung saan piniperform lang naman niya kung ano yung gusto natin pagawa. Kung gusto natin mag-open ng Google, ng Facebook, ng Google Meet, so the computers will follow. So kung maganda ang specification ng computer mo, it will perform very well. The first electronic computers were introduced in 1940s. The computers then were really huge and require a group of people to operate. So napakaswerte natin today in 21st centuries na kung saan ang computers, isang kamay lang natin siya halos nahahawakan, kagaya nga ng cellphone natin, ng tablet, ng computer, so maliliit na lang siya. Pero kaya niyo ma-perform yung task or yung mga binibigay nating set of instructions, okay? At maganda na ang specification niya. Mataas na ang specification niya. But during the time of 1940s, na ang first computer natin ay na-develop, medyo malaki ito. At the same time, mahal pa nung time na yun. So, in order for you to have a brief visualization kung ano ang itsura ng first computer natin, so here is the picture of the ENIAC. ENIAC is the Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. It is the first programmable general-purpose electronic digital computer built during World War II by the United States. So, ang main function ng computer na to, kung makikita nyo, ang laki, no? Halos isang buong kwarto yung setup ng computer na ginagamit nila during 1940s. So, it is intended for research, okay, para matulungan sila kung paano mag-calculate tungkol sa mga scientific operations. To provide you a brief information and additional understanding with regards to our first computer that was developed during 1940s, let us watch the video.
At the Moore School of Electrical Engineering at the University of Pennsylvania, they were very, very strong in computation because there were engineers back then who were moving more toward not just how you do things based on what people did before, but to break new frontiers. And as they did that, the mathematical complications became difficult to solve. So they needed a machine. So they decided electrons are faster, we'll move them through these tubes, and we'll click them on and off, and we'll make a machine that would solve these equations. They created the world's first all-electronic general purpose digital computer. When the war started, they were picked especially to do computations for the Army for long guns and firing tables.
ENIAC was revolutionary in being the first large-scale general-purpose electronic digital computer ever built, and led to the evolution towards modern computer technology by developing the stored program architecture that is the fundamental architecture for all computers today.
They solved these equations that they thought would take 2 years in 2 hours. They did it. So the world changed.
You know, without ENIAC and the University of Pennsylvania and the city of Philadelphia, we wouldn't have Google, we wouldn't have Microsoft, we wouldn't have, you know, the things that are driving today's economy and the rapid innovation that keep happening in computer devices.
People just create things even if they're not being prompted to. That's what human beings are about. You need new knowledge to start something new in the marketplace. So people create knowledge. Knowledge is inherently human.
So that's how important ENIAC is in our history. So without the ENIAC, hindi magiging ganito ka-modern, ganito ka-advanced yung technologies na ginagamit natin. So let's proceed in the classification of computers. So when we say computers, hindi lang yan yung ginagamit natin na tablet or desktop or computer na madali nating na-navigate at nakakapag-store tayo ng data. But when we say classification of computers, meron tayong iba't ibang klase niyan. So the first thing is a supercomputer. So the supercomputer are very expensive, very fast, and most powerful computers in the world. Okay. And they are used in high-end places like in scientific research centers because they can perform hundreds of millions of instructions per second and they are very expensive. So ito yung example ng supercomputer used by NASA. In addition, since bumababa na ang presyo or ang pricing ng supercomputers, ginagamit rin ng supercomputers sa online gaming. Actually, in 2007, Chinese used supercomputers para sa electronic game na World of Warcraft since meron silang millions of users worldwide na naglalaro ng online gaming na World of Warcraft. Again, in order for us to understand more about supercomputer, let's watch this video.
This is a supercomputer. And no, it's not just a PC with a cape and good intentions. Yes, it's an extremely powerful computer. But wait, what's a computer? A computer is a machine that takes in information, stores and processes it, and generates an output. Supercomputers do the same thing, but faster, with more data, and in a different way. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Personal computers from the 80s and 90s were serial processors. They performed operations one thing at a time, like checking things off a to-do list in an orderly fashion. PCs we have today, and even our smartphones, have made a lot of progress and can now perform multiple operations at a time. But for problems that are extremely complex, like simulating molecular behavior or modeling the Earth's climate, serial processing, or even using a modern PC would take way too long. Supercomputers solve this problem by being able to perform many operations at once, in parallel. These kinds of computers have more processors and split problems into chunks, with each processor working on a different piece and all the processors working together at the same time. Want to hear a number that'll blow your mind? When you ask a supercomputer to work on a problem, it can be like asking 100 million PCs to work on the problem. Now that is power. You can imagine that the kind of software that helps you tell your laptop what to do probably won't work when you're talking to a supercomputer. Supercomputing systems require scaled-up software that organizes, assigns, stores, and processes data in the particular way that makes parallel computing possible. And some problems are easier to solve with parallel computing than others. Fun fact, problems that are really easy to split into chunks across a parallel computing network are called embarrassingly parallel problems. Something else to consider, running an immense number of processors requires an immense amount of power, both to run the computers and to cool them down. Just like your laptop has a fan in it to keep all its moving and electrical parts cool so it can continue to function optimally, computers on a much larger scale have to be kept cool too, either by fan or by cooled water that flows through pipes throughout the computing building. So, supercomputers not only solve some of the world's toughest problems, but also present interesting software and hardware challenges for the world's most creative problem solvers. The new supercomputer being installed at Lawrence Livermore National Lab, called Sierra, will be one of the fastest in the world, and will be used to solve a diverse array of complex problems, like how to speed up discovery of new cancer drugs, and will help us ask questions the world needs answers to, all of which we'll cover in upcoming installments of this Supercomputing series.
Supercomputers are the Formula One racing cars of computers. Their many powerful processors are able to perform many millions of calculations simultaneously, so they can operate millions of times faster than conventional computers, and help us solve highly complex problems. Supercomputers are like telescopes. They can simulate the origins of the universe and allow us to study the life cycle of stars in space. Or they can act as microscopes, enabling us to zoom in on molecular level reactions and explore the tiniest components of biological life. Supercomputers are like time machines. By simulating the weather conditions of the past, they can help us forecast the climates of the future. Supercomputers are the key to solving the world's most pressing problems. PRACE, the Partnership for Advanced Computing in Europe, provides a range of organisations, from academia to industry, with access to Europe's supercomputers via its hosting members. PRACE's training helps scientists and engineers make optimal use of the machines in their quest for new discoveries. From a drug discovery that will improve healthcare to determining the optimal location of a wind farm, supercomputers are expanding the boundaries of scientific exploration. Would you like to know more about the vital role supercomputers play in science? Find out more at www.prace-ri.eu.
The next classification of computer is mainframe. Mainframes are powerful multi-user computers that are capable of supporting many hundreds or thousands of users simultaneously. Medyo maliit siya ng konti compare sa supercomputer, mas mura ng konti compare sa supercomputer, but not everyone can afford the mainframe. Well, usually, ang gumagamit ng mainframe ay mga big organization or big companies, ang ating mga bangko. Yan, gumagamit yan ng mainframe. Yung ginagamit nating ATM machines, connected yan sa mainframe na kung saan meron yung input-output, meron yung decryptions about the username and the password, and napaprocess nila yung ating mga withdrawal or yung ating mga balance inquiry simultaneously kahit marami tayong gumagamit. Okay? But syempre, compared to supercomputers, mas marami ang nananavigate o nakokontrol ng supercomputers. So this is how it looks like ang IBM 704 mainframe during 1964. Mainframe computers are data servers designed to process up to 1 trillion web transactions daily with the highest level of security and reliability. According to learn more about mainframes, let's watch the video.
Chances are you've heard of the mainframe before, and you probably know that it's some sort of a computer. You may have even seen one in a movie, beeping and blinking away in a top-secret location somewhere. But beyond a convenient plot point for script writers, the mainframe has a much more important role, managing the world's most important data. The mainframe's not-so-secret trick is having massive amounts of processors, memory, and I/O adapters in one physical system, rather than spread out across multiple servers. This means that the mainframe can run extremely complex workloads entirely in memory on one system, without needing to break it up into smaller bits and then reassemble the pieces afterwards. It also means that the entire transaction and all the data it uses along the way can be automatically encrypted in full. And it's the mainframe's unique characteristics that make this all possible. Inside the Z, you'll find a ton of processors, but that's really only the beginning. For example, take the network, storage, crypto, and compression cards. Each specialty card has its own optimized processors and memory. And then there's the system assist processors, which speed up data transfer between the OS and the I/O. Keep digging, and you'll find processors which excel in running Linux, Java, and other workloads, not to mention a handful of spare processors, which are there to power on just in case an error is detected. It might sound a little complicated, but the way the system is set up lets it run near peak utilization all day long while handling high volumes of throughput. The large number and variety of processors keeps data moving, satisfying demands from simultaneous business workloads with different performance characteristics. Today's mainframe goes by the name IBM Z. It represents a platform that was engineered from the ground up around complex business transactions. And this includes all aspects of banking, insurance, retail, supply chain, government, communications, and countless other industries. So you'll find databases, web servers, transaction engines, and lately you'll even find machine learning and blockchain-based applications. There's a reason the world's largest companies entrust their most vital operations to Z. And by learning more about the mainframe, you'll be perfectly equipped to jump right in.
So this is the example of mainframe device. So sa mga businesses, ito yung ginagamit nila na kung saan lahat ng mga data, storage device nila nandiyan, input-output device nila connected dyan, at meron yung cooling system na ginagamit para ma-maintain ng maayos yung ating mainframe computer. The next classification of computers is what we call the minicomputer. It emerged in the mid-1960s and were first developed by IBM Corporation. They were primarily designed for business applications and services that require the performance and efficiency of mainframe computers. It is generally used as mid-range servers where they can operate mid-sized software applications and support numerous users simultaneously. It is also called as a mid-range computer. It is mid-sized multi-user computers that are capable of supporting 4 to about 200 users simultaneously. Kung familiar kayo during nung hindi pa pandemic, kung nakakapasok kayo sa mga computer cafe or computer shop na medyo malalaki or kilala, ang mga computer shop or computer cafe ay gumagamit ng server computer. Pero ang server computer nila is considered as a mini computer na kayang mag-control ng hundreds of users simultaneously. Ang ibig sabihin nito, yung server nila doon preload or doon naka-load talaga originally yung lahat ng applications na ginagamit natin sa bawat PC or workstations na nirerentahan natin. The problem with this is kapag ang server or ang mini computer ay nagkaroon ng problema, lahat ng users ay hindi makaka-access sa bawat workstation na nirerentahan ninyo. Compared to regular workstation and regular personal computer, mas mahal ang mini computers dahil kailangan mas mataas ang kanyang processor, mas malaki ang kanyang storage device, mas special yung mga applications na ilalagay sa kanya. Next classification of computers is the workstations. Workstations are single-user but powerful computers. It is like a personal computer but being run by more powerful microprocessors and monitor for engineering applications such as CAD or halimbawa AutoCAD and CAM, desktop publishing, software development, and other types of applications that require moderate amount of computing power and high-quality graphics capabilities. So imagine yung mga nagde-develop ng mga magagandang animated movies and series na pinapanood natin ngayon. ang ginagamit nila ay workstation, not a regular personal computer because it is called as a workstation dahil capable siya na makapag-provide ng high quality graphics dahil mas mataas ang kanyang specification. It is designed to manipulate a cert to manipulate or to use a certain applications or software na kung saan para makapag-provide ng high quality output. This is how it looks like kapag sinabi natin workstation. Ito yung nabivisualize natin. So, merong table, merong computers, pero iba't iba yung computers na ginagamit nila. Merong special softwares na naka-install dyan na kailangan nilang gamitin para ma-perform ang kanilang mga trabaho. Or, pwede rin na ganito. So, imagine, no, meron tayong IT personnel na nagtatrabaho na inaayos niya yung nag-e-edit siya ng video, ng movie, meron siya mga ine-enhance na graphics or pictures. So, ang kailangan na ginagamit niya ay workstation. Mas mataas compare sa tinatawag nating personal computer. Siyempre, mas mahal ito compare sa personal computer, pero mas mura siya compared to mini-computers and mainframes, computers, and supercomputers. So, sa mga trabaho natin, when it comes after few years kapag nagtrabaho na tayo as an IT personnel, ang gagamitin natin sa ating work area is what we call the workstation computers. Classification of computers is the personal computers. Personal computers are also called the microcomputers because of their microprocessors for processing data and instruction codes. So, ang personal computers natin yan, typically may monitor, meron siyang isang system unit, may keyboard, may mouse, may speaker, and additional devices and gadgets pa na kinakabit natin. So, ito yung can afford sa mga bahay o kaya sa eskwelahan na ginagamit natin. Na kung saan kaya nga mag-manipulate ng data, mag-multitasking, and can have a multi-user also. So, compared to other classification of computers, ito yung pinakamura at for individual purposes lang. So, meron lang tayo ni-store dito na personal data natin. At the same time, medyo maliit lang ang storage capability nito compared to dun sa mga naunang classification of computers. So, let's have a recap. The classification of computers are, we have the supercomputer na ginagamit for research, the mainframe computer na ginagamit sa mga organizations, sa mga businesses such as ATM machines. Ang ating pangatlong classification which is the minicomputers na nowadays ginagamit na rin as a server ng mga computer cafe or computer shop. The fourth is the workstation. So typically, kung kapag tayo nag-work na sa IT industry, meron tayong workstation na gagamitin sa trabaho natin na naka-design or naka-indicate na ang mga certain application or na kailangan natin sa trabaho to enhance the output. And lastly, ang ating personal computers na kung saan ito yung pinakamura compared to other types or classifications of computers.